What's the most relatable part of the show, the story or your character?
I think it depends on the person. I think Molina, I adore Molina so much. It's very much a queer character. So I guess if you're queer, you will relate to Molina a lot. I know that I do. I know that a lot of the experiences of Molina, even though, you know, this person would have lived in this is set in the late 70s in Argentina, so it was a very different reality. I grew up in Latin America, so even though I grew up, you know, decades after this, it's still a lot of those experiences I know that I relate to. It's a hard piece. It's not necessarily a, you know, a feel good. It has those moments, and it is about the escapism and about the finding the joy when there's so little of it around you. But yeah, I know that I relate a lot to Molina. I mean, this is a character, this is my absolute biggest dream role. Really? Yeah, oh my God, for years it has been. When I realized that this production was happening, I emailed everyone about it. I was like, please, I exist, put me in the room. So to be here is a dream come true. And yeah, I think it has so much of that. It's a story that's not very well known. Not a lot of people know it too well. So it's lovely to hear that, you know, that your colleague has that passion as well. It's great.
Where did you know it from?
So I know it from, I mean, it's a classic in Latin America, and I knew about the novel. Mm-hmm. I think I remember knowing about the musical from my early teens, but yeah, it wasn't until I studied musical theater properly, I guess, in uni, that I started. I mean, one of the songs that I sing in the show, I sang for my showcase in uni. Another one of the songs I sang for one of my vocal assessments. So I had explored a lot of this material in the past. A lot of that is in my rep of stuff that I sing usually. So yeah, I knew the material well.
We'd actually done a bit of digging, and we saw that you had done something in 2022. You'd sung, is it Dressing Them Up?
Yeah. I mean, I sing that everywhere. Whenever I can, I sing it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a favorite.
Absolutely. It's such a good song. I think it's honestly, I think this is my personal favorite Kander and Ebb score. Yeah. And yeah, I think particularly Dressing Them Up and She's a Woman are songs that I absolutely adore.
How does it feel then to, like, you're going to be doing that to an audience?
It's surreal. It is absolutely surreal. I mean, it was such a surprise for me as well. I came into this process a little bit later than everyone else, mm-hmm. And so I truly do not take it for granted. I think it's such a, I feel so privileged to be able to, you know, give this character that I love so much a life, and I feel so honored that these professionals, people who I've admired for so long, trust me with this material as well, because it's such a good role, and I discover so much every single day, so it's great.
So what was it that, have you been into acting and like musical theatre from a really young age, or is it something?
So not really, no, and I mean, I come from Costa Rica, where the industry of musical theatre has grown a lot in the last years, which is very exciting, but I know that when I discovered musical theatre, I didn't know what it was until I was about 13 years old. Back then, there was only one production company that put on any musicals in Costa Rica, so it was really a scarce thing. It wasn't something that was, you know, available for the general public. So I began in the arts with music. I was in a youth choir when I was very young. I was in a couple of operas when I was about 11 and 12. And that was the first time that I was on a stage, moving, singing, having fun. And I felt that there was something special there. And then when I discovered musical theater, I just completely fell in love with it. I started individual singing lessons. My mentor in Costa Rica, who I absolutely adore, made me brave enough to pursue a career in the arts, which, I mean, even in the UK, it's a very difficult thing to do. But I know that certainly in Costa Rica, it was regarded as like, you want to be in the arts? How will you live? How will you survive, you know? But yeah, I just knew that I had to. And so eventually I started looking at universities. I knew that I wanted to study in the UK. I ended up studying in Scotland, which I adored my experience there. I love Scotland.
Wow,
Yeah.
very different to where you grew up.
Yeah, exactly.
Very different climate.
Different from the tropical climate I grew up in.
I love that. So you were in Dear Evan Hansen.
I was,
You
yes.
were, Evan.
Yeah, I was Evan. I was Evan in Spanish in Costa Rica.
And of course it has like a really powerful story. How does a powerful story for a modern audience, like those of Dear Evan Hansen, compare to a more traditional one like you might have with Kiss of the Spider Woman? Like, how does that translate?
I mean, I think it is, with Kiss of the Spider Woman, something that I've fallen in love with as well and discovered over the past few weeks is how timeless of a story it is, even though it is set in the 70s and the original novel was, you know, in the mid-70s. It deals with issues that we still see nowadays, and in different degrees, but I think it's a story about love as a powerful force in the face of political injustice, which we see every day on our social media, in the news. And so I think it's if anything, as relevant as ever. When compared to more modern musicals, of course it deals with, just taking it back to Dear Evan Hansen, for example, that deals, you know, with mental health issues and things that are very, very, very an important factor in society nowadays, especially within amongst younger audiences, amongst younger people. But with something like Kiss of the Spider Woman, it's just as important to see those things in the arts nowadays. I think I hope it serves as a reminder that with a story that deals with so much hate, with political injustice, with othering someone because of their sexuality, because of their gender expression, even though in the 70s it would have been a, you know, very different language around that. It's important to know that, yes, in the 70s, this is a story that was written in the 70s, and those issues we still see today and are just as relevant. And I think it's powerful to see a story about two people changing each other through love under those circumstances, under those horrible circumstances.
And do you see any similarities between Evan and Melina as two different characters, I wonder?
I guess that's I guess in the way that I portray them, I mean, they're very different in many respects. Physicality, age even. I do think in the voice, I think that Evan is a young character finding himself. Molina is a character who is a person who knows themselves, but can't totally be themselves in that society. It's also a character, Molina is a person who, as a product of the time, wouldn't have been able to necessarily put a name to a lot of the things that were happening. I'm trying to think of similarities, but they're actually so different in many respects. I think there's sensitivity in both characters. Certainly with the way I played Evan, there was an approach of trying to please everyone and trying to not rock the boat. Molina is someone who's not afraid to rock the boat and who's not Molina's so brave and always willing to express themselves in the way that they need to in the moment. But the surroundings often won't let Molina do that.
When we were talking to George about the relationship between Molina and his character, Valentin, like the chemistry, like between the two of you, and do you find that's like really, I don't know the right way of putting it, but like it allows you to draw more out of your character and...
Absolutely. I think, well, first of all, I am so lucky to be sharing that cell with George Blackton. I've fallen in love with him completely. He is wonderful, and he's such a brilliant actor, and he's such a kind person and a caring person. And I mean, Valentin says some pretty horrible things to Molina at the start of the show. Obviously, that dynamic changes. And I want to think that Molina is just as changed, if not even more changed, by Valentin than Valentin is by Molina. Does that make sense? It's two characters fully changing each other in this tiny little cell that they have to share for over a month. I'm just really lucky to be doing this with George, because it's been so easy to trust him in that way. And we have a lot of scenes together, so it would have been a disaster if we didn't get along. But it's great. It's absolutely great.